Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining on time. It is very much appreciated. We do have a lot of attendees for the session this morning. There's a lot of interest. I would ask for another minute just to allow everybody to filter on. I do see the number of participants increasing gradually. I don't want to disrespect your time or not acknowledge that you've joined on time. It's very much appreciated. But as we have a lot of participants, I think there may be a bit of a funnel effect in joining. So I'd like to give them another minute and then we will begin. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. I think we will commence with the webinar. Welcome, everybody. I'm sure we'll have more attendees filtering in as we go. I just want to make it clear that we are recording this session and the video will be uploaded to the BRC website. So have no fear about missing anything, or if you have any colleagues that are unable to attend the session this morning, we will direct them to the BRC website. You'll be able to direct them to the BRC website too, to view the proceedings that take place this morning. So yeah, everybody can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We are, however, live. So this is raw and real, and it's intended to be that way. We have many international speakers today for you, and I'll name them just so that you're aware. So we have Bas de Vos, who is consulting to the BRC on total video measurement. We have Karen Schutt, who is consulting to the BRC on the establishment survey, and they're both from the Netherlands. And then we have an array of GFK and IQ folks on the call to add some very much needed detail and flavor to what we're doing, as well as what is going on in other markets. And that's Rolf Muller and his team, Giacomo Catanoso, Thomas Pusher, and myself sitting here in South Africa. And just some practicalities. Whilst you can put your questions into the chat function, if you do so, please leave your email address. And the reason being is that we're not going to answer questions live in this session, as we have a fairly busy schedule and there's a lot of information that we'd like to get across in this update on total video measurement phase 1. So we will answer all questions. If you leave your email address, we'll answer back to you. We will also create a Q&A document for ease so that everybody has answers to all the questions. Ideally, we would like you to send your questions via email to Anele. She's put her details in the chat, or you can send them directly to me, however you prefer, and we will address all questions. I'll make a reminder remark about this throughout the presentation. Right. So without further ado, let's jump in. Sorry, I'm trying to change the slide. It doesn't seem to be. Here we go. Okay. The first thing that I would like to touch on is that there's no doubt that for TV audience measurement going forward, or as we like to call it, total video measurement, there are a lot of complexities. And this is not a small feat. We are making history with these changes, and the intention is not to make history, but we are nonetheless. This is a big change for our industry. And as human beings, we usually resist change. And certainly in this endeavor, the sentiment of the more things change, the more things stay the same does not fit, and it doesn't fit at all. And I suppose that creates quite a lot of discomfort in the industry in terms of the change that is coming, but it is exciting. And I will say that we will all go through this together. We will all be close to this. We want alignment across the industry. The BRC has an open door policy when it comes to total video measurement. Any queries, questions, any inputs, any suggestions, we have to do this together as an industry in order to ride that wave together. But it's a good wave. So alignment is very important for the BRC with the wider industry, with the broadcasters, the agencies, and the advertisers. I think it's important that we track where we are and before we talk about where we're going. So where we currently are is that we have a TV audience measurement that is no longer fit for purpose. And it's not to say that it's incorrect. It's just not kept up with the changes that are occurring at a rapid rate in our market as well as other markets around the world. And then, just to remind everybody where we've come from in terms of the universe that we cater to, that has changed dramatically. However, we've not ingested those changes for various reasons. So we look back and, we've had a measurement, the same measurement for television going on 38 odd years. And also to remind everybody that measurement is strictly viewing in a household on a TV. So the current measurement setup does not cater for alternative screens. It doesn't cater for streaming or over-the-top viewing. And where we're going does, to put it as simply as possible. But yeah, why have we not had an update in our market more recently? And there have been a number of unforeseen circumstances, I would say, that have happened more recently. And I'm talking to the converted, but just to make it explicit, COVID, big impact in terms of how do we do research in the market. Load shedding, that's, whilst it's dissipated now, that caused a lot of problems for face-to-face interviewing in South Africa, and we reverted to telephonic methods, which were not ideal. And we've had a lot of assessments on what works and what does not work. The analog switch off, which has occurred in some regions of the country, but not others. And when you have a scenario with analog switch off, you run the risk of running a research study and the universe changing overnight. So there's been a lot of stop-start in terms of an establishment survey as well as a universe update. But where are we right now? Right now, as I said, we have our current TAM service, which has served us well. It does what it's supposed to do. It measures linear viewing in the household. Does that equate to how we should be measuring television or video? No, it doesn't. Hence the move to total video measurement. But what do we need? What do we need in order to get that across the line? We need a new establishment survey. We need a new definition of the video universe. And we need a new methodology, which we now have in place with our new supplier, GfK NIQ. And we're currently in setup phase. And there are a lot of moving parts, as I'm sure you can understand. But we are forging ahead at a rapid pace. And this update is essential and we'll continue to have updates with the market because this is very complex and ongoing. We want to keep the market abreast of what we're doing and how we're doing it and where we are in the process. And ideally, well, not ideally, our plan, and we're on track for our plan, we will have test data in our market in October this year, with a launch of data into the market at the beginning of 2027. So very exciting. But really, where are we going? With our new TVM, total video measurement service, we are going to get a view of all screens, all platforms, in and out of home viewing. And if you look at what our panel is today, there's a core panel, households, over 3,000 households, and it's a panel, all members in the panel, their linear viewing is recorded. Where we're going is far more advanced, and I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to steal everybody else's thunder on the call. But it is far more advanced in terms of the intricacies of the panel. Whilst we have the core setup, there are various additions that are exciting, that allow us to measure all screens, that allow us to measure connected TVs, that allow us to get a view of the entire streaming universe in South Africa with first-party data. But yeah, I've probably said too much on that already. So why does our journey matter? Well, because there will continue to be structural shifts in viewing behavior. Streaming, time-shifted viewing, mobile viewing. We are a mobile-first country. We skew young. So yeah, the change and the unique nature of our universe will continue to change. There is more on the horizon in terms of what we can do, in terms of NIQ/GfK unique properties, and that's for a later date. But very exciting, and I don't want to go to phase 3 and 4. Today we're focusing on phase 1, but just know that there's more to come, and we will never again be in a scenario where we are not malleable to change. We want to change as the market changes. It's important now more than ever. We cannot be in a scenario where we measure video viewing, TV viewing the same way for another 38 years. It will continue to change as the market changes, as the needs arise, and we have to do that. If we do not do that, well, we will not have a currency. So it's not a want, it is a non-negotiable. Otherwise, we risk currency irrelevance if we do not evolve. So this process really is about transparency, it's about collaboration and taking responsibility. And we certainly live by those assertions at the BRC. And we welcome everybody in the industry to engage, to ask questions, ask hard questions. We need to all be as comfortable as possible because change is coming. We know it's coming, but the change is not bad at all. Exciting, uncomfortable, yes, but needed. Okay. The shift that we will see is structural and necessary, as I've said. And you'll probably see this quite a bit, but change is afoot, change is ahead. The numbers are going to change. That's expected. But this should not be seen as volatility. It's correction. The current system is based on a world that has not changed. So we're not changing the market, but rather correcting how the market is measured. No update. We've had no update in our universe since 2019. And I'm sure you're all aware there's been an evolution of platforms and devices. So carrying on the same path, it's not just inaccurate, it's misaligned to our current South African reality. The old system was fit for purpose then, but no longer sufficient now. All currency outputs, any currency around the world, the outputs are driven by universe definition and the weighting structure. So change in foundation leads to change in output, but they will be more accurate. The establishment survey is our foundation. So we are strengthening, we're not destabilizing. It's different, but different is not wrong. Different in our case is more accurate. This is about alignment with how South Africans actually live and consume media. I'd like to play a clip for you on the back of that.
South Africa is changing how it measures who sees video. We are not just thinking outside the box, we are preparing a new box that matches how people really watch today. For years, the market has used a TV universe built for a different time, but the country has changed. How people live and how they watch on different screens no longer fits neatly inside that old TV box. In Phase 1, we fix the TV universe as the first step towards total video. We keep a TV-based definition, but we use a new establishment survey and a new panel as a sharper lens, so that every comparison is truly apples to apples going forward. With this new box and this new lens, some of the numbers you're used to will change. That is not because viewers have disappeared, but because we are finally measuring the same reality in a cleaner, more consistent way. These shifts can feel uncomfortable at first because they break long habits, but the viewers are still there. What has changed is how clearly and honestly we count them. This is an evolution, not a shock. A better defined TV universe today, and a clear path towards a full total video universe tomorrow. It means stronger apples-to-apples comparisons over time, more trust in the numbers, and a measurement system that finally keeps up with South Africans' real viewing lives.
And with that, I'd like to hand over to Baz and Corin for a quick
The
interview on the
TV
establishment
establishment
survey.
survey is
Oh, sorry about that.
All right. Um, Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Gary referenced to the establishment survey, and Karen has been leading on this very important project. And maybe, Karen, I can ask you to outline why the establishment survey specifically is such an important study in the context of total video measurement.
Yeah, I can try to. Well, the establishment survey is in every country. It's an important cornerstone for any TV measurement or any audience measurement study because it's sort of the lay. It shows you the lay of the land. So it shows you actually how many viewers are there, and how many viewers, but also their profile, and especially in these times of change, also what changes in their more general behavior. So what devices do they use? How much of their time are they viewing outside their own home, at public spaces, or when are they using their mobile phones, for instance, for watching television? Also, so that's what it does actually. So it gives you the broad picture of who the viewers are, how many of them are there, and where are they, and what are they using. So it provides you the lay of the land, so to speak. So actually, and we need it for the TV and video measurement system now and in the future. So we know what the panels should look like and how who should they represent. What are those people? But actually, we have a video here that we can use to show more in detail and in shorter, probably, than I can explain it, how it's set up. And then we'll talk about the other.
The TV Establishment Survey is the foundation of TV and video measurement in South Africa. The TV Establishment Survey is a national study among people who live in private homes in South Africa. It tells us who lives where, what media they use, and what devices they have for watching TV and video. We use it to set the population norms, to track trends in media use, and to find households for the TV panel. The survey covers everyone age 15 and older who lives in a private household. Group housing, institutions, nursing homes, and people without a fixed address are not included. The overall picture of the population is aligned with official census data, so the survey reflects the real South Africa. Interviewers visit homes and do face-to-face interviews using tablets. This means people can take part regardless of language, reading skills, or whether they own a phone or computer. The questionnaire is structured and mostly uses closed questions that were tested in a pilot before the main fieldwork. We use a careful, multi-stage sampling method to keep the survey representative. First, the country is divided into groups using province, metro or non-metro area, population group, and affluence. Within these groups, we select small geographic areas, then dwellings and households, and finally, one person in the home using a random selection method. Some groups, like certain population and higher income combinations, would be too small if we just relied on natural fallout. So we deliberately interview more of them and later use statistical weighting to bring the results back in line with the real population. After interviewing, we apply weighting using key variables like province, population group, area type, and lifestyle group to match the South African population. This ensures that every result from the establishment survey is statistically representative. The establishment survey feeds directly into the TV and total video measurement. It provides the population figures for weighting the TV panel, guides recruitment, and reports yearly trends in device ownership and media behavior by key target groups. In short, it is the map we use to make sure the TV currency truly reflects South Africa.
Cool. This was a quick outline or a summary to explain how the establishment survey is being set up. Karen, can you give a bit of status on how did it go and where you guys are now with sort of finalizing the establishment survey?
Yeah, we are currently in process of weighting the data. So and then we'll carefully present it to the market, first to a selected group of also of people who will help us test and scrutinize the data, because I think for the process, one of the most important objectives is actually that we make sure that we did everything right for this very important cornerstone. So we designed a gold standard study, nationwide, 15,000. So it's a large sample, face-to-face interviews. So this is key to this market as well. So we can include all the groups. We can really build a representative sample. That's very important. We have interviewers who are trained, who can go in and explain and check if people are if people indeed have the equipment for watching that they claim to have. So everything is included. So we make sure that we have the best study that we can deliver in this market, and we have a lot of rigorous control measures as well. So we keep track of things and we check so that everything's right, because we know there will be a lot of questions asked once we see the results, because change is happening, right? And this is a different lens. That's like Gary just explains. We're putting a more sharper lens to this behavior as well. So this will change the outcomes a bit, and we will need to explain how and why that happened, and make sure that that it's not because how we did the study. In that sense, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Then
I wanted to say one more little thing. We optimized the questionnaire, so we changed the way we ask things, and that was based on qualitative study as well. And there's a nice recording of a webinar in February that we did on that piece as well. So if people want to look at it, it's on the website of the BRC. So a little bit of advertising.
Perfect. Cool. Thanks so much for that, Karen. And I think back to Gary.
Thank you, Baz. Thank you, Karen. As I said before, this is the foundation. The establishment survey it needs to be beyond reproach. Hence the rigor that has gone into designing the study, the methodology, the field work, the day-to-day scrutiny of end-to-end process from design to output. And we are eagerly awaiting data that is currently being weighted now. But we are supremely impressed with the delivery of the study via Karen, as well as the other consultants we have working on the study, as well as Ask Africa. Their field work has been phenomenal. But yeah, I'm not going to hop on too much about the establishment survey, other than to just reiterate that this needs to be beyond reproach, but not for the sake of saying, well, this is not beyond reproach. We want questions. We need to be able to answer them. And that's how the study has been designed, because there is change afoot. And we need to understand how that change has occurred, why it has occurred, and how we will be measuring video more accurately going forward. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Rolf and his team, and they will be talking about TVM and the setup for phase 1.
Thank you so much, Gary, and good morning, South Africa. My name is Rolf. I work for GFK, and I'm supporting the setup of our total video measurement in South Africa. And just to be clear, I'm sitting in a huge boardroom with the BRC in the midst of a week of intense discussions and presentations just like this one. Very glad to be here, very happy, and let's take this further. As soon as I have the controls. So just a quick one so that you can have kind of an overview. I've done this already actually half a year ago in October in Joburg as well. I've updated the slides, of course, so they do have the newest developments in there. And just very quickly about GFKs, we're not complete newbies. GFK is nearly 100 years old. NIQ, who we belong to, is actually more than 100 years old. So long-standing market research companies. We measure TV currently in 7 markets. And I can really say that there are no 2 countries that follow the same measurement approach. Now you can ask yourself, why is that actually? Of course, every company would like to scale something like this. But actually, every TV industry is different and unique. And hence there are diverse measurement needs, different measurement needs that we have to follow, also different legacies, which we have to follow in the market. Research design can vary a lot depending on demographic structures, on data availability in the market. And finally, there are many different measurement technologies and methodologies available. Let's talk very quickly about these. So actually common to all our operations here is that we have a TV household panel where we implement people metering, measuring every TV screen that is working in a household and using linear sound matching to find out which channels are they watching, what content is on the screen. A further element we're using a further element as watermarking technology to get additional information such as platform recognition. So through which platform is this channel being viewed, but still the basic being linear sound matching for us. We have in some countries, and we'll get to that regarding South Africa as well, we have also individual panels where we do digital tracking with on-device measurement apps. So the people are ready to measure their smartphones or have their smartphones measured, their tablets, their laptops, etc., to cover the streaming usage that is coming up and up, of course, in every market, actually. The same is true for the big screen, so the connected TV, which we're tracking with router meters. Then we also collect, in many countries already, census data from broadcast, from BVOD. We collect return path data, as some panels are just a little bit too small for this fragmented TV market. And together with data science, we bring that to virtual panels, to big panels where we can get granular information from and really check the state of the market. Let me quickly skim just through these markets so you can see how what I said, that these markets are all a bit different. So for example, in Austria, we're having a traditional TAM panel, but we also have a digital panel of individuals where we do digital tracking. We're collecting log files, we're getting return path data from the broadcasters, and we're putting that into a virtual panel with data science. In Belgium, and we'll get further down the line in this webinar, we'll talk a bit about that. We have as well a TAM panel, an individual panel, which is not run by GFK. We have in our TAM panel router tracking, and again, we do virtual panels with all these data sources. Very similar in Germany, our biggest TAM panel. We use, additionally to linear sound matching, we use watermark technology, mainly for addressable advertisement. We have a digital panel there of individuals, again, tracking the second screen devices We do log file collection, router tracking in the temp panel. And let me have a quick look or go over to South Africa, because that is what is interesting you. We are planning to use every element that we have in our portfolio, in our measurement portfolio, in which we've talked about that. Let's have a closer look. How will all these elements work together in South Africa? Well, first of all, and as Gary has said, we're setting up a TV panel, a temp panel, you could say a traditional panel, 3,500 households, net reporting on a daily basis, with people metering using sound matching. That will be set up. About 80% of that panel will be set up by the 1st of October, and the full panel will be running on the 1st of January 2027. Additionally to that, we have in about 20 to 25%, depending on the EES, the establishment survey results, we will have about 20 to 25% of these homes equipped also with a router meter. So the households which have a connected TV, connected to the internet, and are streaming on their TV set as well as watching traditional TV, we will be tracking that streaming on the big screen with those router meters. We're also setting up an additional panel of individuals. We're planning on doing 2,000 individuals, which have quite a big overlap. Something around 40% is the goal with the TAM panel. So we're recruiting these individuals out of our TAM panel, but also outside of our TAM panel. And these individuals will have their smartphones, their tablets, and their PC laptops covered and tracked with our measurement app. Further, we need, and we're discussing, that's one reason why I'm here in South Africa this week, we're discussing with broadcasters a cooperation because we need their cooperation. This is a project for the complete TV industry and also for these stakeholders. So we're talking about watermarking technology because some broadcasters will want to know through which platform is their content viewed. So adding that to the sound matching that we have as a basis. We're talking about getting BVOD census data from the broadcasters and adding that to the data sources that we have. And we're talking about return path data with which we want to cover up zero ratings in smaller niche channels or niche viewing times in the data. So that's how we measure. As said, we're using just about all the methodologies and technologies that we have in our portfolio to bring you by the 1st of January 2027 data on TV content measurement, so traditional TV, you could say, around 150 channels on the big screen, live, and up to 28 days time shifted. We will also have BVOD data, content data across all screens. So the big screen and the second screens, smartphones, tablets, etc. We will add OTT, VOD, and SVOD on the platform level, which is, again, across all the screens, the big screen, the big TV set, as well as the second screens. And finally, we'll integrate the ad measurement into all this data and cover these platforms, amongst others, of course. I hope I've given you an overview. With that, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Thomas Pauschert, who I think is sitting in Germany. Over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, good morning, Rolf. I'm a bit jealous that I cannot sit right next to you in South Africa. So indeed, I'm participating from remote here from Germany. So let me start with the quality at one glance. Rolf, can you please go to the next slide? So, and quality has, of course, very different aspects, right? I would like to introduce to you the three main pillars. from left to right, that is operations, media measurement operations. This is the part I'm heading. Of course, we have a big contribution from our technology team. I will explain a little bit what that contribution is in a second. And we have of course, another contribution from IT management, very important contribution to stable operations and quality. Yeah, please. Okay, so the first and I would say one of the most important contributions to high quality level is what the local operations team in South Africa will be adding. We have Mulalo and Chandria will introduce to you right after this slide the team and the people that are already on board. So the local operations do mainly have an influence in tracking the panelist compliance with instructions, which is very important because it has an impact on the ratings. Of course, installation quality of the metering equipment is key in order to have good, correct measurement and a very high INTAP rate. INTAP rate is the portion in percent of the panel who really goes into the reporting. And of course, daily data checks, because the decision each day, if the data goes out, is taken locally. So local operations, very important contribution. The global quality team provides consultancy and guidelines with best industry practices, has a huge dashboard, which is used by all of these people for central KPI tracking. So we would be able to see if something is going out of expectation or so over time. Is involved in end-to-end testing, which is a very powerful way of assessing if input and output is in line. And of course, data analytics for very specific questions. Then the tech team. The tech team consists mainly of developers, right? So they develop hard and software. So it is, of course, tested before it is deployed in the tech team. Specific people and teams within technology are involved in incident management, mainly by providing second and third level support. These are the parts where somebody, for example, needs to check the source code. That is nothing that operations people can do. And also IT people will not do that, but engineers from the tech team can help with that. And of course, change management. And a very important fourth contribution is our global IT team in the service management department, because they contribute 24/7 infrastructure monitoring. What is infrastructure in that case? This is the combination of all servers, cloud locations, connectivity, and everything that is tracked 24/7 with the help of teams in IT service. And also, of course, change management is very relevant. With that, I would like to go back to number one here, the local operations, and what you see here, what this team will provide and is already providing. And over to Chandria, who is a member of that team and who will introduce the team.
Good morning. Good morning, Thomas. Thank you so much. We can move over to the slide. Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm currently at the GFK offices in Johannesburg, and you can see the team in the background. I'm Chandria James, and I currently lead the panel management function here in South Africa. I'd like to briefly introduce you to our team leading the TAMs locally. Collectively, our team brings deep experience across market research and technical delivery, particularly in recruitment, engagement, quality management, and measurement operations. Currently on the screen, this is my panel management team. I am supported by Nanki Ramele. She is our senior panel management coordinator. Alongside, as you can see on the screen, a dedicated team of panel coordinators responsible for the day-to-day management and oversight of our panel locally. So this is the introduction to our panel management team. Ralph, if you could move to the next screen, please. Thank you. Operationally, our team is actually led by Mulalo Ngomi. You can see him on the left-hand side of the screen. And with our senior operational support from Palisa Racheko, who's just below Mulalo. Our technical delivery team is actually led by Lindo Matabule, and Moses Piri, who is on the right-hand side, is our data science. We will also be joined in the coming months by Nkosi Sikile Ntuli, who will also join our technical operations, and Asmi Makadam, who will lead data productions as we continue to grow our local capability. Together, this is the team that you'll be working with locally, and we look very much forward to the partnership that we'll be having, or the partnership ahead. With that, I'll hand over to Thomas again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chandria. Thank you, team. I'm really proud of how the team is growing, right? And you saw there was a little bit of question mark on the bottom right side. That does not mean that we don't know what to do with quality. It's the opposite. But some roles are still not filled or about to be filled, and that's the explanation for the question mark. Okay, now on with some further topics. About the following will be about domestic workers and how we include them, about how we do handle guest viewing, and how we will be measuring connected TV. And the common denominator of all these three is that it is in one or the other way an extension. So a completion of the scope of what we will be measuring and how we will be measuring and how we will cover certain segments of the population by means of passive measurement, by means of inclusion and everything. Okay, each of these three sections will be starting with a short movie. And please, Rolf, can you?
Do we measure domestic workers' TV view? In our TV research, we measure how real South African households watch TV. A typical home can include parents, children, and sometimes a live-in domestic worker. In selected homes, we install a small meter next to the TV. Each person who lives there gets their own button on the remote, including the domestic worker. When they watch TV, they press their button so we know exactly who is watching. If the domestic worker lives in the home, she is treated like a full panel member. Her age, gender, and viewing are captured separately, just like any other person in the household. Some domestic workers only come into work during the day. When they watch TV while working, they are recorded as a guest viewer. This way, their viewing behavior is not lost. In our data, domestic workers are clearly flagged, so we can see their viewing. They help us understand who really watches TV in South Africa. Domestic workers count in our audience measurement.
Okay, very nice movie. I must say, yeah. And that leaves me just with the role of summarizing again. So domestic workers are measured, right, in two different groups. So live-in domestic workers will become panel members, full panel members with a button on the remote control, a fixed button, and they are measured like everybody else in that family. Other non-live-in domestic workers will register as normal guests and will in this way also be covered. And maybe here just because that was not mentioned in the movie, what is the definition of a live-in domestic worker? That is, you can see it here, and even there is a quote for how the question is phrased. It is just if they eat and sleep in the house 4 days a week or more, then the live-in domestic worker fact does apply. And if it is less than that, or if they don't live in at all or sleep and eat in the household, they will be registering as guests. Okay, so we have talked a lot about guests already, and that is exactly the next point, guest usage and how we handle it.
In our TV research, we even use guest viewing to fill in the full picture as who is really watching. When someone visits a panel home and watches TV, they are logged as a guest using the special remote. The family quickly enters the guest's gender and age, so the system knows a non-household viewer was present. These guest records are not just extra viewing that sits on the side. They act as a proxy for panel members who could be watching somewhere else at that moment, outside their own home. The model looks the panel members with a similar profile who are not watching at home at that time. It then attributes the guest viewing to those likely out-of-home viewers, as if they were the ones in front of the TV. Because we do this in a structured way, guest viewing can be fully used in all demographic analysis. It can feed into target group reports, campaign performance, and reach and frequency calculations, instead of being thrown away. In short, the guest procedure turns scattered guest viewing into meaningful data. It helps complete the viewing picture and gives advertisers, agencies, and broadcasters richer, more accurate insights.
Okay, again, that leaves me again with just providing a quick summary. So we transfer the usage that we capture with the remote control of the guests to a demographic twin in the panel. In this way, the guest viewing receives a weight and can be just normally and fully be integrated into all kinds of reporting. So it's not lost, that has already been mentioned. It is included in all possible target groups, right? So even custom target groups that you yourself define in the system will have guest viewing included. And what is also very important, it is also included in reach and frequency analysis. So cumulated reach figures, frequency distributions, also guest viewing is included in that way. So it's fully used in the entire reporting. Okay, and then on with the last point. Again, we have a little movie, very nice movie on connected television.
In our TV research, we also measure connected TVs, the big screens that are linked to the internet. In South Africa, many homes now use their TV like a giant smartphone to watch apps such as Showmax, Netflix, or YouTube. These are called connected TVs or CTVs. In a part of our panel, we install a small extra box on the home internet router. This box is called a router meter, and it quietly looks at the data going to and from the connected TV. When someone in the home opens a streaming app on the TV, the router meter can see which platform is being used. For example, it can see that the TV is using Showmax, Netflix, or YouTube. At this stage, we only measure these services at platform level. That means we know how much time the TV spends on each app, but not yet which individual program or episode was watched. This router-based CTV measurement is already part of Phase 1. So from the very start, we can show a full picture of how connected TVs are used in panel homes across both traditional TV channels and the major streaming platforms.
Okay, again, quick summary. And let me start with the following. What is the challenge that we will be addressing with the router meter? And I would like to draw your attention to the bottom left box with a trend. This is, you will not see which countries are in here, but this is an overview on the trends for viewing time that is not linear or time-shifted television. We call it other screen usage, or abbreviated OSU or OSU. And you can see there is only one real trend. It's up, up, up. That's the part of the screen usage that is growing. So the part that is non-linear, non-time shifted viewing, right? And so the router meter is helping exactly to explain what is it that makes it grow, right? What are the platforms that are used? And in that way, it serves as a very important contribution to the full picture of what is happening on the big screen. So we will be installing a router meter in households with at least one smart TV, where the television set as a device is already equipped to be connected to the internet and is factually connected to the internet. So that would be an eligible household for a router installation, as well as is there a television that is connected to the internet by means of other devices like a Fire Stick or so. So the technicians in the households will enumerate this and be on site to check which of the television sets are equipped with such additional equipment, and hence which households are eligible for router installation. We expect at the moment that around about a quarter of the panel is eligible for that and can be installed with a router meter. Then what will be happening then, connect the television and the router meter will make us able to explain what happens behind this mysterious other screen usage. I'm looking forward to see that happening in South Africa as well. Okay, I think I'm done. Yes, thank you very much. So back to Gary.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you to Rolf and Chandra. As everybody can see, there are a lot of different moving parts, and we will continue to update you on developments on all of these areas, as well as the team in place at GFK NIQ. But yeah, complex but interesting, and hence we will be doing numerous updates such as this one. So don't feel like you'll ever be left out. Information will be forthcoming always to the most granular detail that you require. I'd like to now move back to Rolf and Giacomo to give us some learnings from other markets and to give us a global perspective.
All right. Thank you, Gary. I hope you guys can hear me. My name is Giacomo, and first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me to this very interesting webinar. I'm going to now go with some of the examples that we have from other countries. And I forgot to mention, my name is Giacomo, and I am actually responsible for media measurement in Asia. I'm calling here from Singapore. I met some of you during my recent trips to South Africa, and it's a pleasure to meet you again. And the reason of this part of the presentation about what we're doing in other countries is because we want to make the industry in South Africa feel that you're not alone in this journey. Other countries are already moving towards the total media measurement, and one very good example is this one from Singapore. So we call this From Theory to Practice. This is a paper that was presented last year at ASI in Copenhagen, as you can see from the logo on the top right. And the objective here is to show you where we move in Singapore and how we moved from SGTAM 1.0 to the new SGTAM, where the objective is to measure the content across all screens and all platforms. Very few words about what SGTAM is. You're already familiar, more or less, with our icons here that Rolf showed earlier. In Singapore, we moved from a system that basically was measuring everything that happens within the first-party platforms, so the free-to-air and the broadcaster video on demand. And more recently, we moved to a new setting, which includes also other elements. You see here, for example, the router that just now Thomas was mentioning. And this is with the objective of covering also the third-party platforms, so the OTT, the VOD, the SVOD, and the social network. So in very short, the objective of this revolution in Singapore of SGTAM is that in case there is a show that is available on linear TV, that people can watch also on broadcaster video on demand platforms. Let's say maybe that there was the previous season available on Netflix, and there's content available on social networks. The objective here is to measure each of these individual buckets, but also give an integrated measurement of all these buckets together, so to know exactly how many of our people in Singapore were exposed to this content. This is a very complex objective, and we were quite lucky last year that there was a chance to have a very good example of this measurement, so to prove really how this works. This is Emerald Hill. Emerald Hill is a TV series that was broadcast last year, is something that was produced by our MediaCorp, which is the local broadcaster here in Singapore. And the story of Emerald Hill is quite interesting in terms of distribution. It's a story that I think you will hear more and more about, because it's a distribution that combined together different elements. The first 3 episodes were aired on Netflix on the first week, actually the second week of March last year. And then after these 3 episodes on Netflix on this week, you see that every week 5 new episodes were released on Netflix. However, there is also a broadcaster video on demand release. This happened exactly 1 week later. So on week 2, the first 3 episodes of Emerald Hill were released on the broadcaster video on demand platform, and following the same pattern, 5 every week, but with a delay of 5 to 7 days compared to Netflix. And then, of course, we have the free-to-air. For the free-to-air, of course, every day, starting in the second week of this release, every day there was an episode aired on linear TV. And I think if you are working in the media measurement industry, or also in the media industry, you realize that this is quite a nightmare to measure. It's very complicated if you have a traditional TAM, because you will not be able to cover the pre-air on Netflix, because Netflix and the free-to-air have the same sound references, because Netflix on digital and social videos are not covered from traditional audience measurement systems. However, as I mentioned, last year we kick-started our new measurement in Singapore that includes also all these elements. So you remember, a minute ago I showed you what was our theory, our objective is to measure something like this. And finally, now we can look at how it is in the practice. So no more theory, this is real numbers about Emerald Hill. 23% was the reach on TV, 12% was the reach of broadcaster video on demand, and as well 12% and 12% were also the reach on Netflix and on social network, with a total integrated measurement reach of 41%, meaning 41% of population were exposed to this specific content across all the different screens, across all the different platforms. There's actually a lot to say about this slide, because there's many different angles you can look at this, because this is reflecting really what is happening nowadays within the media industry. So one important thing here to look at is to separate the first-party platform from the third-party platforms, where the first party is where the broadcaster is actually owning the platform where this series was broadcast, and the third party is more the Netflix and the social networks. And looking at this, of course, we can first of all cumulate how much was the first and how much was the third party, 28 and 22% respectively. But also a very important thing here is always to look at the different segments. And in this case, we can see that the first party platform attracted quite an older kind of reach and segments. So 54% of the first party platforms audience was actually in the 55 plus age group. However, if we look at the third-party platforms, there is quite a different distribution, where we have the majority of the viewers from third-party platform actually belonging to 35 to 54 years old. And this is already something quite interesting and very insightful. And another thing that I think is relevant here is to look at what is the incremental reach from the first-party platform to the third-party platforms. And we see here that there is quite a number of people that have been exposed to this show only through the third-party platform. You see, 49% is the incremental reach with the rate of change from the first-party platforms. And this is very interesting for us, because we are comparing here what we were measuring before with our first iteration of the TV measurement, so the 28%, with what we are now able to measure, which is a total of 41%. And you see, this increment of 49% is exactly 49% at total level. But if we look at different age group, of course, you can imagine that there is a different increment. So among the 15 to 34 years old, so the youngest people in our panel and in our country here, we say that the increment is actually 90%, almost doubling what was the reach from first-party platform. Then we look at 35 to 54, where the increment is still very, very big, over 75%. And then for the older generation, where, you know, they are more attached to the traditional TV screen, this is still not so big, but still it's a 20% increment from what was our previous measurement to what is our measurement nowadays. All this information are really, really interesting, and our clients are looking at this data now for every single program, because now this is available across all the different programs, all the different channels, all the different screens. So, in a way, what I wanted to say here today is that this is what we call total content measurement. Is, we believe, the first and only holistic measurement that can cover all the different distribution strategies. So not only all the screens, not only all the platforms, but also all the formats. And the amazing thing here is that we're using here the same gold standard that TV measurement has to benchmark against for all the other platforms, all the TikTok, the YouTube, the Netflix, all these platforms now within this measurement are measured using the same rule set that we use for TV measurement. We believe this is a very interesting destination for our journey in terms of content measurement, and we are happy now that also South Africa is joining us in this total video measurement journey that we think is really, really important to follow. Thank you very much, and I leave the ground now to Rolf.
Yeah, thank you so much, Giacomo. As we agreed, you will click through my slides. And hello again to everybody out there. So thanks for this amazing presentation on and this granular drill down in in the data of video viewing that we have from Singapore. What I'm going to show is maybe kind of a bit of a counterpart, not drilling down so much into the video space, but actually our work that we're doing together with our client, or actually I would like to say partner, SIM, which is the JIC in Belgium. That goes to the other side, and we'll shortly explain what that is about. You need to know that SIM is not just not a JIC for video or TV, not a JIC for audio or radio, but actually it is a JIC for all media in the country, in the local market of Belgium. You can see here they have 5 pillars. So what they call is watching. So we're talking about video here. Listening, talking about audio. Reading, that's print. Cinema, and out of home. Those are the medium that SIM covers all. And this is the desired outcome of a huge project and very ambitious project that we have. It's called SIM1. It's, a couple of steps, I would say, towards a single media currency. It's kind of the dream of many people, probably some of you out there as well, to bring all this data together, covering the media and having actually one data set to work on, to analyze and to decide where to place advertisement, for example. So each of the 5 pillars that you see here, watch, listen, read, cinema, and out of home, they actually contain one or even more studies or measurement projects. For example, there is an establishment survey, which is done by GfK for SIM, and that actually touches all of these 5 pillars. GfK itself does, besides the establishment survey, in Belgium, we do video, so TAM. We used to say we do audio measurement, and we will do this modeling right down to the bottom of this table, which is the desired outcome for our partner. Please over to the next slide, Giacomo. Here's a schematic of the proposed Media 360 solution. We call it Media 360. So typical video 360, we're talking about radio 360, also for South Africa. As you know, that will be done further down the line this year. And then in this case here, we're talking about Media 360. You can see on the left side, there is a SIM virtual population. That is actually a data set that SIM has done that covers the population of Belgium, around 11 million people with their socio-demographics. From that, GfK is deriving what we call a virtual panel skeleton, so a kind of a replica, but a smaller version of the virtual population. We are then adding Video 360, and you can see the single elements that we're using, and they might be now, you might see the similarity to what we're planning to do in South Africa. So we're talking, of course, a TAM panel, together with router tracking in that panel. We're talking about a cross-media panel, so digital tracking on second screens in this context, when we're talking video. We're talking about census measurement, and we're talking about big data in the form of RPD. So the exactly same ingredients as we're planning for South Africa. That goes into the Video 360. And then we expand that Video 360 to a Media 360 by adding audio, digital, ad server data, print, survey data, and out-of-home survey data. Please over to the next slide, Giacomo. Here's just another view, actually on the Video 360. So the goal is to provide the full view of video consumption across platforms, across devices. Our ingredients, you can see those in the middle, and you see the icons, and you know the icons now. We've shown them before. TAM panel, router measurement, and then building virtual panels with data science. What you can see here, that is the job of GfK. You can see on the left in the black box, Genius. Genius is an Eastern European provider company that is providing census data to the Belgian market. So we're collaborating with them. And then you can see Ipsos there, the panel, the individual panel. The digital tracking is done by Ipsos for SIM, and we're collaborating with them as well. So what this project is about, besides getting the data together, is a lot about collaboration, very intense collaboration. The outputs, high accuracy, deduplicated reach and frequency with reduced zero ratings coming from the RPD data, increased long tail coverage and granularity of the audience profiles. So we will cover TV consumption on the big screen, live and time shifted, broadcast or video on demand across all the screens, OTT, VOD, SVOD consumption across on platform level across all the screens. Over to the next slide. And here is a definition of the Media 360, so the enhancement actually, or the next step after Video 360. Here we want to provide the full view of media consumption across all media types, platforms, and devices. And you can see the ingredients. I talked a little bit more about Video 360 or total video. I will not go deeply into total audio, digital, and into the virtual panels. But what you have to know is maybe total audio, for example, comes on the one part from our diaries that we do for SIM, and on the other part from the Ipsos panel that I talked about just before. So adding also passive data into that. The same is true for digital. There we also have census data from Genius and all that. The output that we want to create and that we will create, and the timing is kind of by end of this year, probably will be sometime next year, I guess, because it's so much work to do this. A virtual panel framework that combines total video, total audio, and total digital into one deduplicated view. So we'll have multi-level reporting of cross-media, reach and frequency, accurate overlap calculation, very high granularity, and privacy by design, and transparent integration. Over to the next one, please. No, I'm sorry, that was actually went too far. It doesn't matter. I would just like to end this part with saying that SIM is keeping, the JIC there in Belgium is keeping control over the content and methodology by working together with its vendors. The system is very transparent by design for the complete industry. And we have begun with this project about 2 years ago. And as I said, indicated already, it's an intense collaboration with many, many workshops. And I would say we have gone from a client-provider relationship to a true partnership. And by the way, this is a very similar partnership we already have begun to build together with the BRC. Thank you so much, and back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Rolf. Yeah, very, very interesting findings from other markets, which it's always important to put into context in terms of where we are heading and also where we'd like to head. And I'm not saying that we ever want to copy any market in the world. We need to do what's correct for South Africa. But it's very important to know what can be done, what is being done, and where our horizons can go or where we want them to go. There's nothing wrong with blue sky thinking. We can't always get blue sky thinking across the line because sometimes it's a bit too blue sky. But we should always achieve what is best for our market, best practice, implementation that can be achieved. So that is the core of where we're going with total video measurement. And as I said previously, we will continue to change as the market changes. And that's not to say that we're going to create volatility. This is about creating a view of what is real and what is truly going on in the South African market continually. And when I say we'll continually change, that sounds like we'll be changing all the time. Change in audience measurement is fairly slow at times, but they will be considered changes with considerations around scrutiny and testing and taking the market along with us. So please don't get a fright when I talk about continual change. It's more the sentiment around changing as and when we need that change, but a considered view and always getting our ducks in a row before we implement new data. Okay, so moving on to the business value and what this means for all of you. Just changing the slide. So this is not a measurement upgrade. It is a business enablement platform. It's an important distinction. And what does this mean for broadcasters? So this is a more accurate reflection of total audience delivery, better visibility across linear and non-linear environments. So that means that we are future ready. Reduced distortion from outdated universes and underrepresented segments. Improved monetization credibility. What does this mean for the agencies? Greater planning precision, consistent and harmonized data sets. That's program and commercial alignment. Improved reach and frequency modeling integrity, and a foundation for cross-platform planning. What does this mean for the advertisers? It's a currency that you can trust. Far better linkage between exposure outcomes and return on investment. And the advertisers and the agencies and the broadcasters can be confident in audience delivery claims and campaign performance. And before I go on to, the next slide, I just wanted to comment on cross-market assurance. There will be close alignment with all software bureaus going forward from the BRC. So the BRC will stipulate calculation rules and reporting standards. This is to provide consistency, and this governance is very much needed. We never want to have a scenario where there is discrepancies across software bureaus and the output of the data. The data output should be the same across all software bureaus. Hence, the same calculation rules, the same reporting standards. We obviously cannot dictate functionality of the software bureaus. Some platforms may be easier to navigate than others. Some may give you enhanced views compared to others, but you should get the same ratings, reach, frequency, etc. from your campaigns from every software bureau. And it will be an open market for software bureaus. The BRC will not appoint a software bureau per se, although we will assess each software bureau's ability to ingest the data and to provide it to the market in the way that it is intended. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Cool. Thank you, Gary. So from Singapore, Belgium, and Gary back to South Africa and what's happening now. So from January 1st in 27, phase 1 will go live. Phase 1 data will feed into the industry, and it will be the first real step in the new service deployment. As is been explained today, it will bring a new panel, it will bring new universes, harmonized data. So the market can start from a much stronger and more consistent base in a daily business. Guests will be included. Connected TV streamers will also be included in phase one. So we are also introducing a new verification and metadata harmonization service to improve the stability and your reporting consistency. This matters, of course, because it gives the market much more better data straight away, while also building the base for what comes next. It improves how modern South Africa viewing is represented. And it gives more stability in data delivery, which is critical in your daily business processes. It also creates more consistent commercial and program verification data, which support trust in reporting. Reach and frequency for campaigns is reflecting reach and frequency for campaigns. Most importantly, it sets up a clearer and more reliable foundation for phase two and future streaming integrations. Preparation for launch is already on the way for a couple of months across the market. Software agencies are being kept fully up to date, and the ingestion of the new data sets is in preparation progress. It's really critically important to be sure that the market is able to use a new data set once it arrives. So that's why it's very important for us to have a really close alignment with the software bureaus. Reporting rules, calculation rules, and certification are being reviewed so everyone understands the change from the current setup to the new one. And the software preparation and testing will continue throughout Q3 of this year, followed by the preparation phase in Q4 using real new data under NDA, so the market is ready for Q1 2027. Phase one is the first step. It's definitely not the final step. This will be an incremental service, an incremental delivery from this new service. So after phase one, the service expands through phases, what we call phases 2 and 3, including broader demographics and greater scale. And phase 2 will bring the online integration, and engagement with the broadcasters is already progressing in that direction, so having conversations about available streaming data for the integration in phase 2. We're also planning in-person BRC roadshows in Q3 and Q4, along with continued communication and support, like today's webinar is hopefully a good example for. Then in early 27, we will also hold a post-launch results session to share learnings and to discuss the next steps and next outcomes to be expected. And I'll finish with a short sort of recap video and then back to Gary.
Today is about one simple thing: understanding what changes now, what the market needs to do next, and where this journey goes after phase one. Phase one is the first live step in the new service. It brings a new panel, new universes, harmonized data, guests in reach and frequency, and connected TV into the story. This is about giving the market a stronger foundation, a foundation that is more representative, more stable, and more consistent for recording and trading. Preparation now becomes critical. Software agencies update systems and reporting rules. Broadcasters, agencies, and advertisers review the new documentation, and BRC supports the transition with governance and communication. Phase 1 is not the end state. Phases 2 and 3 add more demographics and move the market closer to online integration and fuller total video measurement. This is a phased transition, not a sudden jump. It gives South Africa a better measurement foundation now and a clear path toward a more complete total video future.
Thank you, Baz. Closing remarks. I will say that we're moving from measuring what was easy to measure, in inverted commas, to measuring what actually matters. So as Baz showed, this is a phase journey, not a single event. So we're on a journey and we'll continue to be on a journey. The foundation being built is robust, defensible, and future-proof. Ongoing support will continue in the form of BRC engagement, technical guidance, and industry sessions. Many. Communication channels will remain open, and we suggest, like I said in the beginning, that questions be sent through via email to the BRC. And as the BRC sends continual updates, as well as holds various webinars, all of our material will be housed on the BRC website, so you can reference back to the BRC website, to these videos, to these webinars, to Q&A documents, etc. And I'll just draw your attention again to the bottom of the slide. So we have seen some questions come through live. Thank you. Those will be included in the Q&A document that gets shared, as well as to the individuals that have made those queries and they've left their emails. Thank you. So yes, please send through your questions. You may think of questions, a few days from now, a week from now, a month from now. Please send them all through. We want to get everybody on board and aligned. We're building this together with transparency, with rigor, and with a shared commitment to a stronger future-ready currency. And with that, I'd like to thank my fellow presenters today. I'd like to thank everybody that joined the call. Your time is most appreciated. There will, like I said, be more updates, more engagement, more information. And if anything is unclear, let's talk about it. Let's keep the communication channels open. And with that, I'd like to wish everybody a blessed and fruitful day further, and look forward to the next webinar.